Hi, it's Nick from finance.vote, and I'm going to be presenting to you our roadmap, which is going to take us, it's going to take us quite a considerable amount of time to pull this off. As you'll see in a minute, we've got a huge development trajectory planned for finance.vote, but I think you'll see it's going to make sense as a product suite. We split these things across three core, what we call design pillars, and that's prediction and market discovery, second layer governance, and social trading. So these three design pillars are how we structure our dApp suite, and we call these like dApps for DAOs, you might say. And these form this sort of broader ecosystem which you as finance.vote token holders, of FVT token holders, will govern. So the FVT token acts as a utility token within this system. It will gate access to certain things. It will, change your influence stake in the system and so on. But really, the token holders will decide how we attack this roadmap over time and in what order. So some roadmaps you'll find are straight lines. Ours is not in a straight line. As things in the decentralized world aren't, they're very much non-linear. They go in wacky directions. The space moves incredibly fast. It's like nothing the world has ever seen before. The amount of innovation that is happening in this space at the moment is like nothing we've ever seen. It's genuinely exciting. But really difficult to navigate. And, so our philosophy of this roadmap is to create something that can be dynamically adjusted to context. It's something that is genuinely progressively controlled by the token holders over time and fits a real need for the space at the moment. So we've spent a long time researching this space and diagnosing what is deficient, what's still very early, what's the gap in the market, and we think we're ticking a lot of boxes with what's contained in this roadmap. So I'm going to go through about 10 or 12 applications here that are broken down into little use cases. Some of them we can deliver in a month. Some of them might might take us 3 months and years to develop after that. And it won't be just us developing these things. There is a treasury that will sit in our DAO that will incentivize people to take part in the system and grow and develop it together. So this is just the very beginning of a very long development trajectory. The token economics is designed with a 5-year runway, and then by that time, we hope that the DAO will be able to make everything in this sustainably developed, in a sense that the tokens start to develop its own monetary policy within that framework. The finance.vote dApp suite will look like this. I'm going to dive into the prediction and market discovery dynamic first. Get rid of these lines. So prediction and market discovery. This is a pillar which is about the really important process of price discovery. And there's another dimension to this, which is about using collective intelligence to make market predictions. And it forms the foundation of a governance paradigm called futarchy, which is the use of prediction markets to detect the efficacy of decision making. So this is important foundational work. It starts with kind of crypto economic games. These are designed to actually battle test the voting technology that's contained within these things. So, we're going where the action is. We're going where what the token holders want, which is to create prediction market games that are sort of desired by the market. So the first application is markets.vote. Now this is live. It's been live since November the 3rd and uses a paradigm we call vote markets, which is the idea that we use quadratic voting to sort a list of tokens by perceived quality. We collect a consensus vote on what everyone thinks is going to perform in the market. And then over time, rewards are distributed to people who have been proven to be correct about making those predictions. So we're about 12 ballots in at the moment. Ballots are what we call the weekly markets. And people have been aggregating reputation. We've been paying out users in FVT for making accurate predictions over time. It's working pretty nicely. Gas is proving to be a huge problem at the moment, and we are looking at scaling solutions to take this out of a layer one environment where dApps really need to live. So we're actively working on scaling solution for this, and I think that's a precursor to opening up these future markets. But the idea is that you as token holders will decide what other prediction markets open up on this. So at the moment, the winner market is it's a list of the top 10 tokens in the DeFi market. It was actually a snapshot of the DeFi top 10 12 weeks ago, and I think it's changed quite considerably since then. And in the future, you'll be able to curate this more actively. But for now, users are voting on these sort of big DeFi tokens and making predictions of them. And in some cases, I think we've been right about 3 or 4 times, which sort of indicates there probably is some market alpha in there. It's been variable in adoption due to the sort of gas environment. But the users that have been using it are enjoying it. We've had a lot of fun playing with this thing up to this night, but it has a huge amount of potential. And I think it's useful for you as token holders to see where this might go next. So the winner market's live now. You can go and check it out at the link we're showing here. And moving on, we have the potential to open up a number of new markets. And these sort of squiggly lines here represent the idea that you as token holders will be able to vote on which of these are released in which sequence. So you can look at this roadmap as a kind of decision tree. When we open these development trajectories up, you as token holders will be able to decide how they iterate and develop over time. And as things progress, you'll actually decide which products we release in what sequence, which I think is a really important development in blockchain governance. So there's a number of them. I'll quickly go through them. Some of these are really exciting. So I'm particularly excited by the experts market, which is the idea that we will give a decentralized identity token to people, who step up as experts in the space. They claim to be able to understand blockchain technology and fundamentals of the market and understand what's most likely to succeed in the future. Well, this is where they'll be able to, prove that. So we'll pass these tokens to experts, and we'll give them a list of products, a list of blockchain ideas, networks, protocols, dApps, whatever they are, anything with a token really. And they'll vote on them, and just very much like the winner market, we'll create a perceived list of quality. What's exciting about this is that they'll be able to then go and test out which of these votes, which of these expert opinions were correct by back testing against their decisions against the market in the future. So there's quite a bit of organization involved in that one. How we do it, are we going to be like a decentralized Dragon's Den / Shark Tank type thing? Potentially. Could be quite interesting. But we need to decide what needs to be done in order to release that market. Rekt is a market which it's specifically for smart contract auditors. Might be a bit niche, this one, but it has real potential to perform a useful service for the space. And that is, we give our identity tokens to identified smart contract auditors. And they vote on the perceived likelihood of smart contract failure. So this might come down to a compromised smart contract, an arbitrage that is very close to exploit. We need to decide, and this will be a governance decision, what constitutes a breach smart contract, what makes a contract failure. So that one is very much about defining what counts as failure, and it might be a really important core component of creating decentralized insurance products, for example. The loser market, pretty self-evident. It's the other side of the winner market. What tokens are most likely to go to zero? What tokens are most likely to fail? So what's going to be the biggest loser in any 1 week? We haven't decided which tokens go into this. We will probably pass this decision over to you. We've got some ideas. So that's just the other side of the winner market. The easiest one of these to deploy. We could probably deploy this in a week or two. But we want to build some adoption in our winner market first before we start diluting the markets. So you'll probably have discovered, if you've ever used a decentralized prediction market like Augur, for example, there's normally 1 or 2 markets that pick up all the liquidity. And then there's a long tail of questions, predictions that just get no interest whatsoever. So we're going to step into these gradually. The new markets, the new tokens market is, again, I think really exciting. This is where we start delving deeper into not just the top DeFi tokens in the space, but the newer and emerging assets. Potentially going right to the point where we scrape every new token that comes out of Uniswap, and that's like 1 every 12 minutes. So we're going to go deeper and deeper into these newer tokens and build an incentive dynamic where you, as users of this space who are getting right deep into the new token space, deeper than we possibly could, go and make predictions about which of these tokens are going to rise up the ranks and be a big hit in the future. And you'll earn lots of reputation and compounding rewards for doing that. And finally, of course, the Stonks market. At the moment, there's not really good oracles for decentralized oracles for the stock market, obviously, because it's centralized. But things are starting to emerge from the synthetic asset space, where we can probably do that in the near future. Again, it'll be based on what you as token holders decide. Okay, so moving on to our next application, auction.vote. This is a decentralized auction system. We think it could be really important part of the space for price discovery. We actually launched our own token on this, and we actually, it's a liquidity bootstrapping mechanism. In a decentralized fashion, it collects Ether and discovers a price and lists a token on Uniswap without any intermediating third party. It's non-custodial. That might be really important for launching new tokens. And we did our launch on it, but it's clear that we can open this up to launch any number of new tokens. We need to figure out the best way to do this. We don't want to turn into another vector for terrible tokens hitting the market. So we're trying to do the opposite of that, not encourage it. So we still haven't landed yet, and we're really open to suggestions from you as the community about how we better curate this. We think there could be a really interesting link between the experts market and this. Maybe experts validate these projects before they get launched. And finally, we have a single item version of our token auction, which we call a binary search auction, which searches through the perceived price space. So it goes to the point where we know there isn't a buyer. It goes to very much like an eBay style auction, only without the ability to snipe this thing at the last minute. The auction will just keep going until there's no more buyers. And we think that's absolutely perfect for finding the optimal price for decentralized art. So you've seen a lot of people running these NFTs, and they'll whoever wins the block race game will snipe these NFT drops. We think we've found a solution to being able to auction very high value NFTs. So we want to do event style auctions with this mechanism. So we're on the hunt for really great generative art projects, really exciting digital art drops, high value NFTs for a really exciting launch of this. But you will have seen the fact that digital art is really starting to explode into the mainstream narrative, and we can launch this pretty quickly. This isn't far away from being able to be deployed straight away. The auction product is deployed. This is a minor modification almost of that infrastructure. A combination of markets and auction will go together to create a new application, a new dApp called predict.vote. And this is a very simple idea. You will predict the value or the maximum price of an asset in a time period. So this will be, for example, what will be the highest price of Bitcoin between now and July, for example. And the slightly different mechanism to the other prediction market, it won't be based on quadratic voting, this one. You will pick a specific price, and the payout will be based on proximity to the actual price determined by Oracle. So again, super exciting. And we will launch basically the two majors, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we're looking at a potential partner to be able to build these on a native Bitcoin platform, which could be really exciting. Okay, so the next major design pillar is the one that I'm potentially most excited about. It's where my background and passions lie. Institutional governance, or extra institutional governance as it's about to become, is something that I think has the potential to be one of the most profoundly disruptive aspects of the blockchain space. It's how do we as a group of people start coordinating and collaborating through decentralized technologies in a way that is productive. How do we stop being a chaotic rabble and turn into a group that can create a really productive output, a really productive working environment? And we're launching a set of applications that we think will really open that space up. The first of which is called influence.vote. So FVT token holders, token weighted voting generally is about using tokens to weight your influence to maximize or build influence in a network by aggregating tokens. The downside of this is that the voting power tends to aggregate towards a very small number of people. And actually, it turns out that what are called dumb votes, which is people who don't hold sufficient token weight to actually impact on a decision. So if you can't meaningfully influence, if there's no chance that you can change the outcome decision, then you might as well not hold the tokens at all. They don't hold any utility for you as a governance token. So this is the problem we're trying to solve with this set of tools, but to also tidy up and improve the decision-making processes in the blockchain space. So influence is a quadratic voting version of what you might have seen on Snapshot. So it's snapshot voting. It'll be a gasless voting experience, and it will utilize the balance of your tokens as power in the system. And we'll be using this to link to the markets application as the first use case for it, to curate which token goes into our markets list. Which markets should we launch? Which tokens go into those markets? And that's a really important step in decentralizing that whole prediction market system. What markets are opened, and what tokens go into those markets. And there's a lot of depth to that product, and this is not far away. We'll be releasing this in March, and that will add a huge amount of utility to the FVT token, and will also create a snapshot voting experience that's a little bit different and more nuanced than what is out there at the moment. This forms the kind of kernel to a number of other related products. So influence opens up a development trajectory into proposal and decision and AMA. So this kind of line all build on the same voting module, which we call semantic ballot voting. So if you dig around, if you're the kind of person who digs around in DAO governance platforms, you'll see a lot of what is happening is negotiation of proposals. So a group of people will create a proposal. I think we should do this. This is why. And then there's a narrative or a discussion about why or why not that proposal should be actioned or not. And then there's a kind of binary vote. We're taking a slightly different stance to that. So influence will form the precursor to whether a proposal can be created, which stops this issue of, lots and lots of parallel conflicting proposals, which is one of the key coordination issue. And it stops power concentrating to the handful of people who go and make proposals. And it gets around this issue of needing, say, $10 million worth of tokens to create a proposal, which you'll see on other governance platforms in the DeFi space. So proposal is going to be a much more dynamic proposal negotiation system. And how this will look is that there will be a stack of proposals. And again, by quadratic voting, these will be stacked in order of priority. And when, let's say, a proposal reaches the top and is deemed to be the biggest priority issue in the governance system, it will move on to the decision platform, which is a much more hardened layer one decision framework. So this will be yes or no. We've got all this curation, which proposals, which thing do we want the most? What's the most important proposal? And now should we or shouldn't we do it? And we want to make this really hardened against governance attacks, which is something that has yet to really happen, but it certainly when exchanges start to get involved, this might become a meaningful issue in the governance space. So decision will have a range of tools to minimize the threat of governance attacks, but will make really high fidelity decision making, yes or no decisions. And what this will do is instantly execute the code that makes that change. So we're talking monetary policy decisions, complete smart contract deployment decisions, hard fork decisions. Those kind of things are what will go to those layer one decisions, and they'll have this huge provenance chain of dialogue and discussion and votes leading up to them. So that's our kind of kernel of what we anticipate a lot of DAO systems in the future, once we've built this, picking up and plugging it into their DAOs. So although these applications will be governed by FVT holders, they'll be usable by other products in the governance space as well. And finally, AMA is it's an Ask Me Anything platform. It's for curating questions in a decentralized fashion. And this one, we've seen with our own eyes where the users are. There's thousands upon thousands of users playing these kind of AMA games in the Telegram groups and in the crypto dungeons, as we call them. Just thousands and thousands of people actually critically evaluating the projects that are coming through the sort of flow into reality. And we've had thousands of these questions ourselves as a network, and I've answered hundreds of them. And some of them are really good. Some of these are really interrogative, deep questions. These are the users that read the white paper, and they're doing it for incentives, but they're really getting to the nub of it. And there's something exciting about the conversation that these things create. So AMA is going to be a platform for brokering that question and answer thing. That we'll start it on our own platform. There'll be users incentivized to ask questions about us and what we're doing and about this roadmap. But ultimately, it'll be opened up to any of the new projects they're about to launch, and maybe that will feed into the experts market and potentially into auction. Bank down here, bank.vote. this is potentially a really important component of this. Yes, we are saying we're going to make a decentralized bank. This might take us years to fully execute, but the first step into the bank application is the funding decisions. It's what holds the treasury in our DAO. So every DAO needs to hold assets and issue them to people based on vote. So we're doing that, but we're integrating Merkle drop-like mechanics. We're integrating vesting mechanics into this. So instead of giving users, let's say they've won 1 million tokens to build something important for the network, they don't just get them in one hit. They get them deployed to them gradually over time. So it's a huge open-ended project that the users and the token holders will take into weird and wonderful directions, I'm sure. The final design pillar is social trading. Now, there's something really interesting about where the DeFi space is going in terms of creating collaborations around money management and around trading that hasn't been seen before. So typically, if you're trading in a market, these things are a zero-sum game. It's you individually versus a bunch of other people. And we've seen what happens when small token holders group together to take on big token holders, for example, or big holders. And social trading and the dynamics of people collaborating in a market may have an interesting dynamic when it comes to offsetting the power that people hold in markets. So if you hold enough assets in a market, you control the market. And that gives a huge advantage to people who already have a lot of money, which is why it's easy for a rich person to get richer in a market because they essentially control it. So where this goes next is our yield application, yield.vote, which is the first application that you'll see hit the mainnet in a matter of weeks. Whether our smart contracts are done, they're audited. We'll be announcing that audit process early in the week. And yeah, we're very, very excited about this. You can read the full deep dive on the paper on our Medium article. It uses some interesting token economics. We call them, it's called the Harburg attacks. And the idea is to build a sustainable liquidity mining process. So if you look at what really kicked off the DeFi space, it was liquidity mining. Compound had $90 million in TVL in June last year, and they switched on the Compound liquidity mining program, and now they have 3.6 billion. It really exploded the DeFi space and kicked it into a growth phase. So liquidity mining is a super important primitive in the space, but is very underdeveloped. And this is our iteration on that. We think we are in the process of making liquidity mining more sustainable through the generation of what we call perma-liquidity. That is assets that aggregate in the contract and can never be taken out. So it brings market confidence in the asset. Invest.vote, I'm not going to go into right now. We've got some exciting ideas for that, but a little bit early to state where that might go. It will involve an interaction with the yield project, yield.vote, and taking spot allocations in tokens in a way that's not been done before. Identity.vote is something that you'll see very soon, actually. So we're not going to spin this out as an actual standalone project just yet, but it's integrated into the vote market. So our decentralized identity tokens carry voting history, reputation, and will also have a visualization, a digital art attached to them. And the art aspect will launch very soon. But that collection of pseudonymous identity has the potential to open up an entirely new design paradigm in DeFi, where the holder of a token is treated differently to someone with a different token. And that might be because they've aggregated reputation in a system or have a proven history of behaving in a certain way. And a big component of that is that it opens up the social trading aspect, where you can start to rank market participants in the network by order of how well they make decisions, what their market performance is, how good they are making predictions, and that will all be captured in a dashboard application that will provide all the market data that advanced users want to get into. There's two final projects here that I'm just going to tease at this point, because we don't want, these probably won't start to become realized until deeper into the second phase of our project. So Q3, 4 of this year. But we are going to be launching our own DEX. We have a novel AMM design that is utilized elsewhere in the system, but is a combination of voting. It's a social trading orientated DEX. It has the potential to add a new dynamic to how we trade assets in the decentralized space. And yeah, so we're very excited about that. And there's a space where that can go that is pretty mind blowing, but we don't want to talk about it too much just yet. And fund.vote it's a decentralized hedge fund. All of this stuff culminates to the ability to be able to reach consensus about assets and collaborate on creating value. So a decentralized fund is what could happen with that? What could happen if we could collaborate in a way where large-scale investment could be done by consensus? This was a kind of the original vision of DAOs, but really the whole mechanics weren't there yet. The governance systems weren't there yet. The decision-making capability wasn't there yet. And that's what all these other applications leading up to this point are needed to get here. So this we see as the final endpoint of this system. This is where we're heading. I'm really looking forward to it. I know a lot of our users are, the people who've been keeping up with us and talking to us daily in our citizens group. Please come in and join in, ask us any questions. Until next time, I'm going to say goodbye.